Ooh, what? I don't even know what song to sing. Oh my God. Hey, y'all. Hey, Sam Joe. Alicia. Oh, Lord. They ain't gonna know how to act. I was about to say the Dirty Birds, but that's the Falcons, right? Lord. First of all, the streets was empty. The shop, it was a couple of white people that came through today, and Alicia came through with her cute little girls. They was like, "Hey, Mama TT." They are so cute. They be like giggling and stuff. They was like, "Can we see the alligator?" I was like, "As long as you don't touch the alligator." Oh my God, people are not going know how to act in Philadelphia. They already don't know how to act. Wasn't it something happened and they started like burning cars or something like that in Philly? I don't know what's gonna be worse, being here or being in New Orleans. Hey TD, hey Kayla, and Christina and Britt. Oh no, girl. We was on African time. I had to let y'all get in here. Okay. Oh my goodness. Shay Alafia Nee. Hi Terry, how you doing? Um, oh Lord. Mel be doing so many like incognito moves. Okay. Oh hey, H2175. What's your name? Welcome. Oh Lord. Devon talking about saying victory is mine. We doing something a little different tonight. I was looking at something that was like somewhere between Nuck if you buck and victory is mine. Like literally I saw a real ain't no gospel tonight. But y'all see that? You see? Wait, Katrina, why I saw I had played this video, this reel, and I was like, look at Kelly. Oh, the first Bukudu Fest at the brunch. Anyway, what's up? Hi, Stephanie. Hey, Xania. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Tawana. Anyway, I am TT is starting off on a good foot. Okay. TT is starting off 2025 on a good foot. Book done. Book was read, like things in the margins and all. Okay. My notes and all. Hey, Soror. Oh, it's fine. Yeah, nah, it's all good. Rob was good. I feel like I'm glowing. Like, cause you know what I'm saying? 2024, we're leaving that in the past though. But anyway, let's get started before I get too distracted and get on too much on a tangent because we're gonna be talking about a book tonight because it's absolutely is a book. Omi Tutu, Ana Tutu Tutu Ile Tutu Bobarisha all over the place. Tutu Ego Tutu Elegua. I want to read a prayer. I'm gonna read a prayer out of Ia Michelle's Adora Circle. First, I want to read a prayer of thanksgiving. All right, we're going to give thanks. Gracious God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the air we breathe. We thank you for the health we have. We thank you for our mind to be grateful. We thank you for the land and the sea, the trees and the leaves, the mountains and the streams. We thank you for the sweet smell of spring and the heat of summer. We thank you for the snow, even in New Orleans. We thank you for the coolness of the winter time, the creatures on earth, the resources in and on the earth, and the comforts they yield. We thank you for the stars in space, the moon and the sun. We thank you for day and night. We thank you for our forefathers, foremothers, and four ancestors, whatever their gender, who have paved the way for us to walk. We thank you for our families, for our fathers, mothers, parents, grandmothers, grandfathers, grandparents, great uncles and aunts, our sisters and brothers, and non binary siblings, our companions, and our children. We thank you for our neighbors and friends. We thank you for this day and all that lies therein. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you. And I am going to do a prayer of invocation because anytime is like two of us are gathered in her name, in their name, you know, it's a village, y'all. We need to pray for the spirits to bless us. God, we invite your presence into this place. We invite you into the thoughts, words, and deeds rendered in this gathering, peace and light to the good spirits who come to aid us. May the grace of God guide our ancestors to higher heights and deeper depths as they work on our behalves. Show them the way of perfected evolution. Let the grace of God continue to comfort us through self discovery and acceptance to a place of true enlightenment. Please, Lord, guide us this day in this place. Guide us as we share the paths to be followed. Guide us as we hear the spirits who come to rescue us from self destruction, traps of our enemies, and vices which destroy the body and the soul. Help us to share what the Spirit is saying with tenderness to compel us to improvement. Help us have an ear to hear what Spirit is saying for our good and elevation. Remove the veil of pride which blinds us to our good. Let your mercies govern every thought in our minds, every word spoken, and every act expressed. Dissipate the energy of darkness which comes to confuse and cause havoc. Send away the undeveloped and selfish spirits who refuse to accept their invitation to evolve. Take away the mind of judgment and knowledge. Let only the spirit of light remain and give evidence. Refresh our souls through careful correction. Guide our minds to sound stability. Heal our hearts to experience the light of love. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Oh, ooh, TT Batu cut up tonight. And yes, Nuck, if you buck, is definitely gospel. Oh, thank you, Sam Joe. I'm feeling, the girls is feeling good. Okay. TT is feeling good. TT just needed, I didn't really get the respite that I really, really needed, but I'm so happy that I took the time that I needed to take, to do what I needed to do to get back on a good foot. And we give thanks. I'm glad that y'all are showing up to show out. And Rob, I love that prayer too. And it's always good to come together in prayer, right? We got to always come together in prayer. And so, yeah, how y'all feeling today? I'm gonna just check in real quick. How y'all doing? How has the year been treating y'all thus far? I know it's been wild for the night in some places. Clearly, it fucking snowed in New Orleans. Okay. Hey Janine, I'm so glad you made it. Good. You're gonna be glad that you made it as well. So it's already, we give thanks that, even though there are people in this community that were indirectly impacted by the fires in Los Angeles, we're giving thanks that everybody in this community directly, from what I know, that everybody's homes are safe. And OGP just said that they finally have rain, and we're going to pray that the rain is, cooling off the fires, and not bringing any mudslides, because that's a thing too, because Mother Earth is definitely speaking out, and she says she mad, y'all. I mean, the fact that it was, first of all, like, I want to give Atlanta some acknowledgement too, because when New Orleans said Atlanta could never, y'all complied. Like, people was buku mad in Philly when I was like, Philly could never win. Frankie Beverly died, but I'm like, Philly could never. Like, there was like, oh, we had a funeral and he performed before, but people didn't even know he was from Philly. He did albums live from New Orleans, Louisiana, and it was so mad unnecessarily. And so when we said Atlanta could never, y'all acknowledged the fact that y'all could never. So I just want to, congratulate y'all on good behavior. I want to congratulate y'all on also, knowing how to act and giving credit where credit is due. Because when them motherfuckers experienced snow and people was like, my daughter was like, oh, I'm so sad you weren't there. Not me. I was not sad. The last time that it snowed in New Orleans, it was like a dusting of snow when I was like in, I don't know, the third grade, and the city shut down. I didn't need to be there where they were sprinkling Tonys on the steps. I didn't want to be a part of none of that. Okay. So I'm grateful. I was looking at the snow out of my window in Philadelphia and not New Orleans, because them Negroes, I was like, why they was outside with the thongs on though? Then somebody jumped up in the pool. Like, I was just like, y'all really don't know how to act. Okay. So anyway, all that to say that, it's things going on in the earth. I'm glad everybody is safe and sound. No, I did not want to see that. Not that hawk. Not that hawk, Sam Joe. I could see other hawks, but not that one. I'm good. And they're not gonna know how to act in a little while because Philly gonna be up in there. And yeah, anyway. Yeah, the Tonys. Mm-mm-mm. Anyway, all right, how y'all feeling? Y'all good? Everybody's all right, everybody's calm. Now, I got a question. I know most of the time y'all don't be reading books, but this time around, y'all was doing audible, y'all was reading, y'all was highlighting, and I am proud. Okay. I am not going to lie. I read myself. Okay. And I know it would be real funny because we be talking about, like, for all of the newbies, welcome. Anybody that's new to the book club, welcome. We do read in the book club. I love that, Terry. You said this book fed you. I love that. The audible, her voice. Yes, Aurora. Leslie listened on Spotify. Xania came through with, I started, I was like, wait, where are these notes coming from? Xania did a whole Google sheet document with pages of notes. Okay. Yes, Tulani. This is the first time y'all are showing up to show out. I just got the book last night. Yes. OG Peachy said I read it back to front. Oh, look at, okay. OG Peachy was like, holla at a scholar. Okay. Oh, that is amazing. I am so happy that y'all read. I am proud. TT is proud. Most especially because I told y'all that I had a surprise for y'all. And so I'm so glad that y'all not embarrassing me. And so I just want to say that we are breaking out of tradition tonight, this evening. And I don't even know if this is the first time ever in ATR's book club history in the past few years. But for maybe the first time, definitely in 2025 and maybe 2024, I'm excited to share that Ehime Ora is in the building. Okay. And so I'm just going to read their bio. Also known as Iya, and I already told you that my Yoruba is not perfect because it's definitely going to give New Orleanian. Okay. Also known as Iya Ifawole Shango Dosu. Shango Dosu. Erin Funto is a Nigerian writer, artist, and priestess of the Ifa and Orisha traditions, and author of Ancestral said. Ora is initiated into the societies of Ifa, Shango, Kawo, Kabiosile, Erinle. She holds ancestral connections to Mami Wata spirits within Orhobo. Am I saying that right? You could correct me. I am not above correction. Igbe, Orne, and Edo's Iha Ominigbon. I know Tony is like, what are you doing? You hear him in the back? What are you doing? Tell me, correct me in the most perfect accents and dialects of all times. Or was born in Ibadan, Nigeria, to Sabongida Ora, father, and Orhobo mother, and she immigrated to the States at a young age, essentially growing up in a diaspora. Ora creates captivating content that heals, elevates, and inspires the soul. She is grounded in her purpose of reconnecting others back to themselves as an educator of African spirituality and holistic wellness. Through her creations, she facilitates tangible joy and spiritual well-being within her communities. And without further ado, I know. I told y'all I had a surprise. I told y'all that I had a surprise. TT said that she had a surprise. Without further ado, I would love to welcome my fellow Shango sister priest, Ia, to the stage.
Hi, hello. Hi, everybody. It is so nice to be here. Thank you for that introduction. I feel so blessed.
Listen, we are blessed. Like, OMG. I was like, she ain't gonna be able to make it, but it don't even matter. And he was like, yes, like
Yes, I was on it. I'm like, yes, absolutely.
I was like, they are going to be so psyched. I was like, prayers answered. You might actually be our first like author on like book club for real, for real.
Oh, wow, really?
For real, for real. It is
Bless.
it is indeed an honor. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful for like so many reasons. I'm not even gonna be able to keep up with these comments because they are like
I
hype.
appreciate the love. Thank you guys so much.
They are hype. They are hype. I mean, the book club is warm, but like just they were like when we were in Brazil, they were like, TT, we need to read this book. And I was like, I knew because I was already ordering for the shop.
Mhm.
But and I, the Gemini in me, Virgo moon, I be real selective
Mhm.
and I be real discerning when it comes to these book selections. And sometimes they'd be like, we should read, and I'd be like, no, we're not. No, we're not doing that. But I was like, it was a must read before I even read it. Just one because of well, one just because I'm gonna celebrate you and support you, just you being a child of Shango as
I
well, right?
love Kawakabiesi.
All day,
Kawakabiesi.
all day. Um, but I think, and the reason when I said that I was proud because only being, a handful, a few years older than you and, initiation wise, but like you being a young elder, the way you carry your crown is so royal. I almost have tears in my eyes. Like
Mhm.
it is so royal. Like the humility is what gets me because, we get a bad raps. Like children of Shango, people put a lot of stuff on us. And I think, and when I was telling the story about how when my hair was marked, how I bawled like a baby,
Mm.
that I cried so much because I'm like, my whole life I've been too much.
Mm.
And now I got this crown on my head. And now I have to like really practice humility every single day. And it's not an easy thing to do, particularly when you do know your power.
Mm.
And just even the way you carry yourself, you not only strike me as someone who knows your power, the fact that you understood your lineage, and the fact that you understood where you came from, regardless of whether or not you had to assimilate into like American society and diasporic society, when you walk in the world knowing your people, knowing where you came from, you walk a little bit differently,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And so there's a certain level of like confidence. I'm not even gonna say arrogance, but a certain level of confidence that we walk with. And so then the lesson constantly is when you're working with that type of fire, when you walk with that kind of knowingness, is to express humility, and you do it so well. And so I am just I'm honored and I'm blessed and I'm excited to share space with you just in the ethers, right? The
Mm.
way you teach without it coming across as dogmatic
Mm.
and didactic.
Mm.
Like, one of the things that really struck me about the book, and particularly, and I'm gonna say this because I try to be as diplomatic as possible when I talk about our traditions, right? And then even within like the Yoruba framework, within like Lukumi and Ifa and Isheshe and Candomblé and Shango Baptist or Orisha Baptist, like folks can really come off as very didactic and dogmatic in their teachings, right? Like I hold all of this knowledge and wisdom, and you're outside of this fold. And one of the things like one the way that you invited people into the book, it was like you weren't speaking from like a pedestal, but it felt like you were like seated in a circle, like sitting down, right?
Mm,
And you were like inviting people in, and you were inviting people in from a space of not only your knowing but their knowing, right?
mm,
In order to connect to like Egun. And like,
mm,
Mama Janine said, like your teaching is so accessible. I told you that when I sent you the voice note, right?
mm,
Um, I loved accessibility to it. So first of all, I just want to congratulate you and give you your flowers. You
mm.
have published not one but two books, and like
Thank you.
just that in of itself is a feat, right? That in of itself is a feat. I have so much to say. I got so many questions to ask, but like, how are you feeling right now, just in general?
I just feel like happily overwhelmed. Like, thank you so much for the love. Like, writing this book, it was really hard for me. Like the manuscript, I even had to go home and be with my parents and just sit down for a while to write this book and to complete it. I had even asked for an extension from my publisher to complete this book because so much of my life was just like transitioning during this moment. I consider Spirits Come From Water to literally be like almost like I created a portal in my life, and that portal required me to change. So it was a lot of that shedding and a lot of the vulnerability, which some you may have felt within the book as well. And just to see people loving the book and enjoying the book, it just makes me so happy. Because I wrote that book in a space of a lot of uncertainty in my life, in a
Mhm,
space of like doubt. And as a Shango person, that's never a place I want to be,
mhm,
I never want
mhm.
to be in a place of doubt. I want to be in a place of I can understand and see my destiny and that clarity, because that's where I get my power from, when I know myself. So seeing that and just being affirmed by you and just everyone here, I just feel so blessed. I feel so honored, and I just feel so grateful just to be, one of being community with you and just helping folks reconnect back, in African spirituality and with themselves. I think that's just what it's all about for me, how I can be of service to my community. Everything else is like, that's great. But to me, it's the service part. That's what brings me the most joy, especially as a young priestess growing into myself.
And that's interesting because my Oba always, who's also a Shango, he always says like people confuse royalty, and he always says to do good and to be abused is to be royal, right? And people
Hmm.
are like, no, not abuse like somebody's physically abusing, but like to to like really when you are of service, a lot of times you are abused. People take
Hmm.
advantage of you. People they have expectations of you, right? They
Hmm.
feel entitled to you in a lot of different ways, to
Hmm.
your thoughts,
Hmm.
your words. And he was like, to do good and to be abused is to be royal. And he said that a job of a king is to serve the people, right?
Hmm.
He said people get royalty confused and think that to be royal means to be served. But if and the reason why I really started, like, our book club is mostly Black women and femmes, but also non-binary folk and trans masculine folk and a few men. But he said if you want to be a king, you need to serve as Black women, because Black women are the kingmakers.
Hmm.
And so, when you talk about, just even doubt, right? In service, like you have done so much service, especially like, generationally, so many millennials, like there's a level of wisdom. Do you identify, you're a millennial, right?
I'm actually early Gen Z, millennial cusp.
Okay, so see, even younger. I am a ageist. They know. Like, and in the book club, we got boomers in the book club. We got 80-year-olds in the book club, and then we got real young folks in the book club. But I'm even more impressed then, because I'm always like, what? Like my elders look at me like I'm a kid, right? I'm
Mm.
like I'll be 47 this year. I'll be 10 and ultra this year. I've been practicing Lukumi for 20 years, and that's one of my line sisters who's a con priest, who's in a come
Oh
form.
wow.
Yeah, I'm like, we've been best friends since we were like 18. She initiated into a con about a decade and a half before I even initiated. And so I also call her my elder, but I'm like, girl, not right now. I got my phone on do not disturb for a reason. But anyway, they call me young, but I feel like a kid in tradition. But when I look at some other folks who just came into our traditions, and I'm like, what y'all teaching about? What you know to be teaching somebody? And I just really appreciate the humility. Like the um one of the things that struck me the most, and it goes specifically to your humility, is even your asking, right? Like one of the instructions. So just talking about the book in a formal way, like it was practicum, like you gave real life examples. These are easy to do examples of how to connect with spirit. And I can't tell you how many times that people come into the shop, people come into the book club, and they're like, I don't know I don't know how to set up an altar. I don't know how to communicate with them. You know, you gave like real like tools. You provided very practical tools. One of the things I love was I saw your vulnerability, and even saying stuff like you know, asking them for proof when you pray. Like, let me know that my prayers are reaching y'all, right? Not being afraid to ask for help, which is something and I don't know if this comes from like particular old dude that I have, or what, that I feel like I got to do this on my own, even though I got all these tools in my house. And other people that are not children of Shango are always like, I go to Shango for everything. And I'll be like, I don't be asking him for nothing.
I feel that. Ooh, I'm the same way.
Really?
Yes. He be looking at me like, you just gonna walk past me? Yes, because I can do this. I got it.
I'm like, what is that about?
I don't, it's a lesson. It's a lesson.
And so I even got called out in the Misa. It was like, before you even go to the bathroom, urinate, brush your teeth, wash your face, you need to do ballet to Shango. You need to talk to him. And it was like, there's an order to things. Because sometimes my ultra room is like my bedroom, my ultra room. And I'd be like, hey, Baba, like, you know, I'll pray and stuff, but I don't ask him for anything. And so I think there's a certain level of humility that you talk about, even in terms of like what to ask them and how to approach them, to talk to them very conversationally, right? And then just like you're talking to any other family members. So let me just go to my notes, because I got like 50 million notes, and Xania is backstage and she has prepared all of the questions, and I promised her that I was going to give her some time. But a few of the things that like stood out to me was, and I don't even know if I could read my handwriting. I already said that it wasn't dogmatic or didactic. I love the fact that you weren't preaching. You know, it was like you were sharing. And I really love the fact that your starting point was your great ancestor, right? And then your mother. I love how you almost deified your mother, right? Like, and I think that's so important, because particularly when people come into our traditions, there's a way of what my god brother. It's like, why are y'all all calling me? I'm like, y'all know I got book club. Um, People tend to exalt their godparents, right? And all of these elders, even without acknowledging the elders in their own lives. And I love how you spoke about your mother's prayers. I loved how you spoke about how your family was so protective of your shrines. I love how you even spoke about, you're like, I'm not even going to say the name of the spirit, because I think particularly when folks get initiated on the continent, right? And even in Atlanta, there's almost a need to like prove, uh I don't know, I don't know if it's like you didn't proselytize, right? Like you were teaching and you're inviting in without proselytizing, and it's like this is what we do and this is how we do it, and everything is not for public consumption. Even calling the name of, like the spirit that my family was able to protect is not for public consumption. So I just really, really appreciated the reverence for
Mm,
which you, and the discretion that you protected your family's history, your family's like sacred lineage, while
mm,
like sharing and tapping in, but like you starting there. So if you could just speak to a little bit about
mm,
that.
mm. Yeah, so this water spirit came from, I would say, like my sixth generation grandfather. So, because of my mother, I'm able to speak the names of my great ancestors up to six generations, and they kind of know where those ancestors came from. But with this great ancestor, they don't really know where he came from. They think that he came from the kingdom of Benin, and he traveled and he ended up in the Delta State, currently in Delta State, Nigeria, in the village called Okpara Inland. So he was actually one of the few people that would end up building this village from the ground up, essentially. And he brought this water spirit with him. And there's so many epic stories of my grandfather. You know how the term Orisha is actually what they talk about, like a deified ancestor.
Mhm,
How they treat my great ancestor is essentially almost in a deified way. Like,
mhm,
my family, they built a whole family hall in his honor.
mhm,
And that's when they kind of convenient for any kind of issues regarding the family lineage. So he's actually buried underneath there, and even that the shrine is in walking distance to his the family altar, the family hall. And when my mother told me about this is why I think venerating your ancestors and starting from what you can, it's what unlocks like ancestral memory or ancestral archives, in my opinion. Because my mother didn't just start out telling me, oh, we have a shrine back
mhm,
home. Even though I was born in Nigeria, I was born in Ibadan, which is so far away from Delta State. Nigeria is
mhm.
actually pretty big. People don't really know that. It's a huge,
Right.
huge country. But my mother started off with stories when I was younger about mermaids, about
Mm,
water spirits, about how our ancestors venerated this water spirit with a white tail. And me, being a child who loved books, I was like, oh, this is fantasy. This is a story. I was so enthralled about my mother. And that's even why I fell in love with writing and telling stories anyway.
mm,
And it was like as I was unlocking myself, returning back to my ancestors through veneration practices, through Ifa, through Orisha, it was almost as if my mother's spirit was getting stronger and she was telling me even more stories, even more stories. And then all of a sudden, I hear about this great ancestor and I hear about how. Oh, he could alter. He could change the weather. He could control animal. I'm like, who is this man? I wanna hope I could meet him one
right.
and when we actually returned back to Nigeria, my entire family, it was my mother that even said, hey, let's go to the shrine.
Mm,
And I have a beautiful photo, it was actually by accident, of when my mother was going into the shrine. You see her back, and you see the big statue that stands in front of the shrine. And inside is our water spirit. And he is huge, he is heavy,
mm,
could even see the indentations of when they actually builded him and molded him into being strong and fit.
mm,
And that's also him being a water spirit, but also like a hunter, is even speaking about the different modalities of water, you
mm.
know. Like I think it's so we're so used to motherly like water, right?
Right.
Water can also destroy you at the same
Yes.
time. And water is the best probably at destroying you. Uh,
Mhm,
and this is what he kind of represented, in that kind of protective force of water, but also that nurturing aspect as well. So he's kind of like this four figure. And also, he was so deliberate in avoiding just contact with the Western world
mm,
because he saw the British that was coming a miles away before they even arrived. And before they even arrived in the compound, he said, you know what, y'all ain't taking me. because that's what they were
Wow.
doing. The British was taking and extracting
Right.
artifacts that was actually in charge, ancestral technology, putting them in museums on purpose. They know what they were doing, because
Mm-hmm.
if you deprive someone of someone's art, then you kind of create vulnerability within them. So this water spirit would transform himself, disguise himself as a woman to alert the ancestor,
Mm,
would tell my ancestor, "You need to wake up because they're
mm,
coming." So the ancestor woke up and she was like, "Oh my goodness." She went and ran to the shrine, alerted everybody in the compound. Everyone alerted, because the thing about this water spirit is it's only passed down through family,
mm,
There's no outside, person that could be a priest. So it's like the responsibility of the family to make sure it's protected. So when it goes, what are they supposed to do, without it?
right.
So they worked together to make that shrine bigger and heavier. So when the British came, and they did come, they couldn't move it. And they
Mm,
said, "Oh, I guess you guys can just have it." And that's how you know these shrines are alive. They're
mm,
not just pots and statues. They're sentient, and they're living, and they're aware of things that are happening cosmically. And as someone who has great visibility, I have responsibility.
mm,
And that's like what I've been even writing the book. Is like I have responsibility of choosing the stories that I share, also
mm-hmm,
choosing how I maneuver as
mm,
a spiritualist. And even like my mother was like even speaking about how to become a priest of this water spirit, even though it's through the bloodline. This water spirit is so particular. He's like, "I only choose you through dreams."
mm,
So I know he watching me say, "You know what, Ehime, I love you, but not right now,
mm,
not where everybody can see," and I understand that, and I have peace with that.
mm,
And it's such a beautiful thing being able to go to the shrine and seeing my aunts working there, seeing
mm.
the people connected to me, and seeing that this is something that I can even pass down to my children. Like, go to
Mm.
the shrine, and that's just a something that I don't take for granted at all.
Wow. Sam Joe said that's so powerful. And I'm thankful that today, even those of us who are on this side, from this side of the diaspora, this side of the continent of the Atlantic, we have so many tools to trace back
Mm.
our lineage, which is something that I'm always encouraging folks to do. Like, genealogy to me
Mm.
is such in and of itself is a part of ancestor veneration. And I think that for so long, it was said that we were cut off, so we couldn't. And yet, here we are able to trace back so many different generations. And I just think that it's so beautiful for you, one, to have that understanding of your people and where you come from, but also the type of the again the reverence and the humility, like you said, like having the discernment of what to add and what not to add, um in keeping, like, just acknowledging the sacred, right? Because people talk about sacred space, but what I found, particularly now because of social media, is like everything is for public consumption, right?
Mm.
And even when you spoke about the artifacts in these museums, and like I in 1926, Du Bois said in the criteria for Negro art, "I don't give a damn about art that's not used for propaganda."
Mm.
And I remember in my curatorial days, I would go back and forth even with Black curators about this idea of Black art needing to function. And I'm
Mm.
like, historically, it always did.
Mm.
It was never a mask for the sake of a mask. It was like a mask worn for a ceremony for a particular reason. That mask was probably fed. The drum was
Mm.
fed. It ate blood.
Mm.
Anya, is an Orisha. Like, so all of these, whether it's like the jewelry or like the metal work that you talked about in Benin, um,
Mhm.
the doors, the in the belly, even the painting on their homes, like all of this function
Mhm.
for something. And so for you to speak on that, and also to respect that, I I just really appreciated that reverence you held
Mhm.
for your own family, for your own shrines, while telling the story but not giving too much away,
Mhm.
for the sake of the audience. um there's like, I don't even know, again, let me just, I mean, I got so many notes, like, it started off with, I talk about how you spoke about discretion, um that, um the I'm just like, I cannot read my handwriting. I'd be like, again, I'm like old and stuff, I'm like looking, I gotta bring it far away. um One of, so if I could just like outline a couple of things that just like struck me, that I felt like was helpful for readers, particularly like people just coming into this. Um, how you spoke about, and it was like certain terms that you use that I introduced. I think that you introduced maybe for like the first time. Um, there was something, and I have to look for it, but I just even like the way you just, it was like just certain concepts and terms that you use. Like you called something and you said it was generational. I have to go back and look at what it was exactly, because again, I didn't outline my notes in a particular type of way, but I just really love the language. Like, I love your use of language, um, and how soft it feels. Like you talk about, like, I think subjects, even colonialism, like colonization and the Ma'afa, with a certain level of care and softness. But I really appreciated that. I love your prayers. I was like,
Mhm.
I just almost wanted, and I know you have, um, like my ancestors said, but I was like, I could just like make a photocopy and make a little book.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
really even appreciated the instruction around starting your day, you
Mhm.
know, uh, with the prayer to like your Ori. I love the Ori prayer. And if I could read one of them on page 39, Ori, as I begin this journey to get closer to you, break me away from uncertainty. Allow me to believe these prayers are reaching you. Provide me with unshakable faith on this journey to reconnection. Allow me to remain open to your wisdom. Carve out the best path for me to walk on. May hope remain at my side today, even if bitterness arrives. Let my perspective remain strong in faith. Let my day grow to be sweet with surprising blessings of wealth, relationships, and opportunities. May good luck and fortune never run dry for me. Ashe.
That's it.
It was really, like I said, it was very much so a practicum. You broke down concepts that could be deemed as for someone coming to a tradition. Like you talked about, there's no such thing as hell, there's no such thing as the devil, right? You talked about, what we call in Lukumi, uh Osogbo,
Mm.
and you all call it,
Ajogun.
yes, right, misfortunes, even breaking that down. You talked about what could seem like very complex concepts, and you just simplified them and you made them accessible. How, in terms of the book, because you packed so much in it. You had prayers. You talked about how to develop a relationship with your Ori. You talked about how to set up an altar. You talked about spiritual hygiene. You talked about herbs, right? You discussed even, the problems that people face when,
Mm.
like, some of the, like, coming out of Christianity, and
Mm.
some of the contentious beliefs that people have to decolonize in
Mm.
order to even pray, right? Talked about the idea of when you have this relationship, it shouldn't be transactional. You
Mm,
talked about how to heal and deal with problematic ego. And one
mm,
of the things that I loved the most was um, when you introduced the idea of the fact that somebody might be have this contentious relationship with a grandfather that caused harm, right? Or a
mm,
grandmother that caused harm, or an aunt or uncle. But you're like, your ego gonna go all the way back to the beginning of time.
mm,
And so even whether you know their names, you don't know their names, you can invite them into the space.
mm,
So you covered so much. That's why I'm like, if anybody has a question now, like how to start, how to begin, I'm like, I can't just give them this, because I tend to have to like piece together a variety of different books and be like, okay, now make your way some kind of way. But just the fact that I feel like you touched upon so much here, and that it was accessible, I really really appreciated that so much. Now I have like questions that go beyond the book, because I know Xania is going to have some questions specifically about the book for you.
mhm,
At what point did you know, or were you called to like priesthood, and
mm,
what was your family's reaction to that?
mm. Okay, so when this is a good question. So when you're born, especially in Nigeria, you kind of do like these divination on the child. You kind of see what that child is going to be and who they're going to become. They call it kind of Esentaye in Orisha.
Mhm.
And my mother, I think, I know she knows me very well. When I would initiate into Ashun and even into Shango, they would actually speak of her. They would
Mhm.
say, "Your mother knows you're being initiated," and I would always just start crying. They would always just mention my mom. I would just start crying because of
Mhm.
the relationship that I have with her. And my mother knows who I was going to be when we would immigrate to the States, but didn't want me to feel like I was forced to in a space of responsibility, if that made sense.
Mhm.
Really, her focus was how can my children survive?
Mhm.
It was how can we make sure that we're not at the victims of xenophobia, racism, things of that nature. So she made a choice. She said we can't be African immigrants and practice Ifa, Risha, traditional spirituality. There, you got to pick a struggle, at least one or two.
Mhm.
So it was my mother telling stories of our ancestors,
Mhm.
these water spirits. That was actually kind of like my awakening. I was always a very weird child growing up. I would just say that very, very plainly, especially when it comes to church and going to church and praying. I never felt that connection that I thought, maybe there was something wrong with me. I
Mhm.
felt almost isolated,
Mhm.
especially in youth church, even though I would love to come because it was like they'd always give us like candy and things like that. And I loved
Mhm.
it. But they would ask me to pray. And I remember that moment of just feeling like emptiness in my chest and seeing how all the other children had their heads down, eyes closed, feeling almost a connection to it. And I was like, this doesn't feel like me. And in that moment, I started to kind of expand myself to think beyond of this at a really young age. This kind of worried my parents originally because they were just unreally sure because we were just so far away from home. I haven't been to the shrine. I haven't interacted with any elders. How could this manifest? And this is why I always give gratitude to the hoodoo woman in my life for taking me into really under their wing. I was like maybe 17, 18 years old, and it was Voodoo Woman saying, "You have a strong connection with your ancestors. Why don't you build your altar like this? Why don't you include it like this?" I was like, a
Mhm.
whole new life open up for me.
Mhm.
That's why, like, don't let anyone tell you that Voodoo is not,
Mhm.
a legitimate practice. It has awakened my destiny, to be
Mhm.
honest. And through a hoodoo woman who connected with my elder who had initiated me into Ifa, that's how essentially my story began. That's how I was able to find myself.
Mm,
And even the first divination, I still remember it to this day. Ifa said, "This is when things will start to get interesting. Your life will start to get interesting from now on."
mm,
And even if I would say that there's something lost on your father's side that
mm,
Ifa will help you bring out. And being initiated into an Rinle, who's an Orisha, my father's side, that was lost for over a
mm,
century. And finding out my family's relationship to Ifa on my father's side, it's been a homecoming, a homecoming. And it started with women, with my mother, with hoodoo women, with
mm,
even my female classmates in school
mm,
that I mentioned in the book. It's a lot of like different goalposts of women that have instructed me. And even currently, at my temple, the women that I'm looking up to who are teaching me how to become a priestess, it's just, I get emotional just thinking about it.
mm.
And I think a lot about, the blessings of the great mothers in our lives and how it's so okay to have an open heart to that, open heart to those blessings and to that love. But yeah, that's my story.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you even your acknowledgement of even a diaspora on your journey. Because I remember I saw a video. Some guy was like, "Isheshe is the mother. Lukumi is the child." I mean, he was giving hotel all day, every day. But and it's like, and Tony and I, being diaspora radical family,
Hmm.
we always are annoyed and both amused at like diaspora wars, right? um
Hmm.
because I'm like, really, who is this serving? And even this idea like that our traditions were static, like like they just, like they almost as if they stopped in a time capsule
Hmm.
in Nigeria or in Benin or in Ghana, and then people are just going back and getting something that hasn't always been there hasn't been like this give and take, particularly since the diaspora was created through the Ma'afa, right? That was
Hmm.
the book that I read about Candomblé, Black Atlantic religion, and I remember it was the first time that I really understood how Brazilians were coming back to Nigeria
Hmm.
and bringing things that they learned there. And so, and even I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Jacob Olupona, who's yeah, at Harvard, and he said, it was these people in the diaspora that kept our traditions alive, because unlike your family that
Hmm.
was able to save its shrine, so
Hmm.
many shrines were destroyed
Hmm.
throughout the continent. You know, shrines were stolen, shrines were burned down. Even in reading your book, when you talked about your father, how you
Hmm.
know how the families at Shu,
Hmm. Hmm.
how they were giving money as kids to
Hmm.
throw them away and get rid of them. And I'm just like, the level of strategy these people use
Hmm. Yeah.
to take us away from our traditions is so wild. But I'm
Hmm.
surprised to hear that about like even the influence of hoodoo on your journey. And then I'm also just appreciative of your embracing of the diaspora, because it's easy for you, having been born on the continent, to just be like, I
Hmm.
came from this. This is who I am. It ain't got nothing to do with none of this over here. And almost as like from a purist perspective, right?
Hmm.
As opposed to like acknowledging um how, just as a whole, how the diaspora at large, how it impacts all of us, just in the same way the continent and our longing to go back to the continent, it's something that influences us in our identity, but also how just being in a diaspora also lends itself to us returning to traditions as well.
Hmm. Yeah, like I think it's very easy to create like a caricature of oneself, especially in like a spiritual space of almost creating a false iteration of oneself, if that makes sense. For
Mhm.
me, it's like I have to be incredibly honest, especially when it comes to like my story, because hoodoo women and hoodoo in general just really showed me my capability and who and just my potential of myself. I feel like as someone who was searching for just a connection and just to feel this, what it felt like when I had all of my altars set up, that excitement in my bones, like that's what hoodoo gave me. And
Mm.
that was the beginning of my journey. And I didn't know that it was going to be to this, to this capacity. It was just something that I practiced quietly in my dorm at Howard, and I even remember my first altar set up and just how grateful I am. And I remember just how even Ifa just made me feel, I didn't feel pressure to like stop practicing hoodoo, when I was practicing Ifa or learning about Ifa more. It kind of felt like hoodoo was just saying, thank you. And there was like a shaking of hands, like, thank you so much for this part of my journey. And I will always remember you, always
Mm.
remembering the woman in my life. And that's why I always kind of like, I'm very protective over hoodoo people. Um,
Mm.
and I'm always trying to do what I can to uplift. Just even the Zora Neale Hurston Summit that's coming up this weekend, actually. Like, I'm
Right.
in a supportive role to just assist. Like, I didn't even want no workshops, no classes, because I'm an EFI practitioner, I didn't want to take up space. But just to be able in the supportive role to assist and to help, like that's just what I want to do, to give back in the way that I felt really nourished in. But I'm just really, honestly, really happy, really honored, to be honest.
Wait, and I wanted you to finish your thought. Did you say your dorm where?
Howard.
Why am I just now knowing that you went to Howard University?
Yeah, I went to Howard University for my freshman year. I was so excited.
Wait, like somebody was like, if you could have said, it was like when she said Howard, I'm like, you know that Tony and I both went to Howard. My brothers, my sister-in-law, like Tony literally came to Howard from Nigeria.
Wow.
That is crazy. I'm not even.
Yeah, I'm seeing a connection. Like, I didn't want to say nothing, but like, even you and your con best friend, like, I have a best friend who's an Akan priest too. So I'm like, what is going on?
We about to be kicking down. Yeah, I
Like,
was like,
so
I,
much.
I was like, yo, y'all saw that. There was like when you saw her face, I was like, did you just say Howard? You in the motherfucking varsity? Oh my God. You know what? The spirits do come from water. Like, no,
Ooh, they do. Mm-hmm.
they do come from water. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so funny because I don't even like as a child of Shango, I could either really love Shangos or really can't stand Shangos. I'm not even going to lie.
That's real. Yeah.
I mean, like my gods,
Real. That's real.
we can be a lot.
Yeah. It takes a particular kind of person to
It's just, well, I mean, it's like the things that they be saying sometimes. It like literally, it be true. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God, I love this for us more, Divine. Anyway, I'm not gonna. And speaking of Shangos and doing a lot and doing the most, I'm gonna bring Xania up to the stage, who's one of my favorite book clubbies.
Hi.
Hi. Hey y'all. I'm nervous.
Don't be. So let me tell you, Ehime, Xania, like we have in our book club, like we mostly meet on Geneva, and we have a room called like Daily Bread, like like the church books. And so she be posting something from my ancestors said every single morning as like daily bread.
Oh, thank
it,
you.
it's real. Like the love for your publications, like I said, they stay sold out in the shop is real. So Xania is one of the main reasons why like we were even reading this month. But anyway, I'm about to be quiet. I'm about to mute myself. Xania, go ahead, boo. You got this.
All right. Well, first off, hey everybody. I just want to give thanks for TT for being so dope and creating this dope space. And also thanks to you, Ehime. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes.
Thank you for being here. This work that you're doing is absolutely incredible. And I know you usually speak about being perceived, and I just want to thank you for allowing yourself to be perceived, being obedient to the calling on your life, and allowing your medicine to be experienced by all of us. I know that takes so much courage, and I just want to give thanks for that. One of the first things you said that really hooked me in was when you said that the spiritual space in which your family planted themselves in for safety wasn't large enough to house your expansive spirit. When you said that, as a water sign and a woman who is engulfed with the water, that really took me in, and I knew that I was about to really go deep with this book because it was absolutely incredible. And I can resonate with that as well. I feel like with this book, a lot of us, and I'm sure people can relate, we felt seen, just your vulnerability, like TT said. It was just amazing to see you open up yourself in that way and allow us to see that part of you. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. The nerve's going to go away in a minute. I know.
Oh, what? Please.
I'm like, because like TT said, I was sharing your book, and I just love all of your content and your concepts that you put out into the world. And my next thing that I really wanted to talk about is a concept that you constantly speak of in this book, as well as your other content. And that is how you said in the book, for us to access this space of divine love, we must offer something of ourselves in exchange, which is stillness. I'll say for me personally, in 2023, when I was in one of the toughest seasons of my life, you said something, and you said stillness is not punishment. And it just really sent off a light bulb in my head because, honey, I definitely saw it as punishment. I wasn't feeling it at all. And it wasn't until I looked at your perspective on stillness then, as well as within this book, that I was able to view stillness in that way. So I wanted to ask you, how did you, and other people watching can drop in the chat how the word stillness makes you all feel. But I wanted to know, how did you develop that beautiful, if you would consider it beautiful, it seems beautiful by your words, how did you develop that relationship with stillness?
Ooh, by force. By force, honestly. No, I'm being so serious. I think like as a Shango priest, it's being still, not doing something with my hands, not being able to control the situation creates anxiety within me. And that's what stillness was trying to like disengage from me. Am I just talking to myself? What's going on?
Yeah, I think she probably wanted you to be the focus.
Oh, I'm sorry. I like having you on screen because I like talking to somebody on screen, just me. Anyway, so what I was saying was stillness was trying to have me disengage. TT laughing at me. Disengage with my desire of controlling a situation, letting go of my control issues. And how I was able to befriend stillness was actually during one of the darkest periods of my personal life. And it felt like I wanted to escape the grief. I wanted to escape the pain. You know what, Solange would say, I wanted to sleep it away, dance it away, do everything it away. But that's what only kind of kept me stuck in that cycle of perpetual grieving. And that's how we extend our suffering, I noticed, is we don't allow ourselves to be still, to be sad, to be honest. I feel like stillness is a synonym to radical self-authenticity. Can you be with yourself without nothing there, without nothing around? And who are you in nothingness? And a lot of people don't like themselves in that nothingness. A lot of people actually make their personalities and who they are based on what they're consuming on social media, on the internet, or whatever they're seeing, their friends, their peers, their family. Who are you outside of that? And stillness brought me into a huge magnifying glass when it came to who I was. And I didn't really like all that I saw. And I had to come to terms with that. in that stillness and that breath. And that's why meditation became my best friend during that time period as well. Meditation will change your life. Like that breathing, woo, that breathing will change your life. And it's just creating that space for you to actually acknowledge all parts of yourself. Because with Shango, sometimes the struggle of feeling like these parts of myself are heavy, these parts of myself are too much, these parts of myself may swallow me up if I engage with it too further. It's about saying, no, I'm actually strong enough to be in harmony with all of me. And I just need to create that space in order for that to actually manifest into my life. So when we kind of disengage from stillness, especially when we're in like a transitionary moment in our life, we, like I said, extend that suffering. So something that could have, been past maybe within 2 weeks is now something that stays with you for a month, 2 months, 3 months, because you didn't allow yourself to be still in that initial moment. I'm realizing, especially as I'm growing more into my practice, that I actually don't have to do that much, that I'm actually learning to do less and less and less and putting spirit before me. And that's something that I even recommend with, people that I would work with, is like, put spirit before you even start anything, before you create a project, before you work on an idea, before you even leave your house, for a safe commute. So you're not trying to constantly control your surroundings, your world, your situation, and you can just be open to receiving. And that openness is actually what is a space of being able to hear spirit. Like stillness, nothingness is how the universe was created. It started with dead silent and then something amazing. So maybe we just have to give ourselves that little moment of that quiet, of that solitude, to create something amazing in our own lives. So I find stillness to be a blessing for me personally, nowadays, because it wasn't always like that. And I think it can be a blessing for you as well when you just create that moment for it.
That is beautiful. And you saying all that makes me really feel like and know that I'm on the right track, because, child, like I said, 2023, that stillness had my head knocking between the washer and the dryer. I was like, what is this? And even how you said stillness really reveals who you really are, not who you think you are. Like, I thought I was so patient and, I had so much faith. And it was like, I felt that way because not everything, but things were always going my way. I was getting the things that I wanted. But when things, went left and the stillness kicked in, that's when it was revealed. And so last year, I definitely took the approach of befriending stillness. And so, yeah, it's a beautiful journey for sure. I can't wait to get to the other side with my beautiful stillness, but see, still a struggle, but I give thanks for the stillness for sure, because we don't recognize that in that stillness, things are made clear to us that we would not have seen if we were going, or so consumed with external things outside of ourselves. Yeah, so.
And it's like, it's inevitable, like what Rob just said. It's inevitable. Stillness is going to happen in life, regardless of it. I think like maybe in the society of Amazon Prime and, Uber Eats, we have things
microwaves
exactly, very right away, immediately type of lifestyle. It's really hard to come to terms with stillness, which is why we always kind of confuse stillness with stagnancy. Like, I'm still I'm stagnant. And that's like your relationship to stagnancy is also what's going to color your relationship to flow when it happens. Like, you not finding peace in that stagnancy, in that stillness, you're gonna struggle when things start moving. And it's always gonna be a boomerang, right?
And we don't want to struggle. And that's why I done learned you might want to embrace what's happening before you continue to suffer. Like you said, we don't want to cause any suffering. Of course, there will be suffering. There will be trials and tribulations, but you don't want to cause any unnecessary pain to yourself by resisting, what life is trying to teach you. So that is definitely a word for sure. That word had my name on it. I love how in the book, even with talking about ancestor veneration, as well as meditation and working through perfectionism and things like that, you were just constantly like a soft voice, reassuring, like, even when you would, like, I would read something, I'm like, all right, I don't know, see myself or whatever. And then you would come with the next paragraph and say, I know, that might not be natural to you, but say this instead, like with the second Ori prayer, like talking to your head and saying, please just, remove any doubt, remove, all the things that are blocking from me in this moment from making this connection. That was just so real, instead of just, giving a bunch of prayers and things, knowing that people are still human and still experience these negative emotions, even when, going after something as positive as a relationship with our egum. And I love if you could speak a little bit on your views on meditation and how you said, like, we think in the West, like, we've overcomplicated it. We've, made it this thing where you have to sit still, be completely quiet, stop all your thoughts. Like, you gave some really good examples of what can still be considered meditation.
So meditation is honestly something that, like I said before, really just saved my life, and something that I recommend even for people who are ADHD. I'm personally diagnosed with ADHD myself. And honestly, Ifa and Orisha, venerating our ancestors, is a meditation to me, which is why I just emphasize that moment of spending more time at the altar space. You can even read a book. You don't even need to be in prayer. You can do, lay your offerings. Just spending more time there, you will notice how it changes your emotional state and how you get into that place of Zen. That is what meditation is all about, Zen. And also the acknowledgement of thoughts as they come. And that can be done through anything. And in movement, I find that you're able to even accelerate the thought, because as you're walking, your thoughts are also kind of walking with you at the same time, which is why going for long walks is really good to kind of clear your mind off of things as well. But I do think there is such beautiful thing when it comes to being able to be in one's position and sitting there for a minute, because that's something that you're able to have more accessibility to do wherever you are, on the train, in the car, in the classroom. You're able to be still in one spot and be able to come back to yourself. And even if you are someone that still needs that kind of tactile stimulation, tapping on yourself, like your fingertips, like so, even the pressure points on the face, what they call that EFG tapping, that is really good for meditation as well, and breathing. Let us all breathe together. Let's take a deep breath into our diaphragm, holding that breath in for 3, for 2, for 1, and exhale out of the mouth. Deep breath into the diaphragm, holding for 3, for 2, for 1, and exhale out the mouth. Last deep inhale into the diaphragm, holding that breath for 3, for 2, and for 1. Let it out with a breath. Exhale. Like, doesn't that feel amazing? Like,
Yes.
Amazing. Doing that just one time in the day, girl, listen.
Right. I have this thing where I say, don't forget to breathe, because child, I definitely be forgetting to breathe. I'm like, just breathe.
It's like we forget. We really do. Them inhales.
Shallow breaths, not really being intentional with the way that we breathe in life. And I love how you said, I ain't gonna go to the part of my notes, but you were like, as long as you have breath, there is life. And that reminder, a lot of these words in general were so grounding, even though the focus was water. And as, like I said, a water sign with a lot of water in my chart, I never think of water as grounding. I'm like, I'm always like floating all over. But these words and the way that you interpret spirit through water were so grounding. And that's what I need. Grounding. Like, come out of the clouds, come down, and just ground. Even how you said on your walk, speak to the tree. Acknowledge the tree. you know? So
Mm.
little simple things like that is how we will begin to cultivate knowing that life is beautiful and there's beauty that can be found all around us in our waking lives.
Yeah, it's really about lifestyle. I think that's what I really was trying to emphasize in the book. It's like having a lifestyle of someone that reconnects with their ancestors, that sees, the creator and everything. And I think those are the things like that have made my life personally beautiful. Like when the sun will just shine into my window and I'm like, oh, the creator. It's nice to see you. And that just makes you feel good, Like that's what life is all about.
Yes, mission accomplished. Because how can you not have not even like a false positive, but a literal positive outlook on life when you view life through that lens? Like, look at all the Most High has done for us. Look at the tree, look at the leaves, look at the water, look how the wind blows, look how we got from point A to point B safely. All of those things. It's like, why complain?
Okay.
Life is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Gratitude. It's truly a light, and that can be so cliche to say, like count your blessings, but no, really,
Seriously,
really do, because you will find how things will just start to stack and be like, dang, life is actually, it
and
just
it's so
that be telling us that we don't have enough.
Yes, it's so contrary to what society typically says. Because like even last year, I felt good, but it felt weird to be just so grateful in stillness and what some would see as stagnancy. And, it's just not normal to our society. But I was like, I am so grateful to be alive, to be breathing, and to just simply be. That lets me know that each day I wake up, I have an opportunity to, go towards and go forth in my destiny. Speaking of destiny, you shared the Yoruba proverb that stated that we knelt down and chose our destinies, but yet we arrive to earth and we become impatient. Oh, highlighted was just highlighted. And share for those, I have it here in my notes, but share for those who may not be familiar. I love how you introduced the Ifa concept. I won't try to pronounce it, but of choosing our destiny before coming to this earth. I thought that was a beautiful
Yes, of course. So I recommend for you all to watch the Disney Soul. Disney's Soul is such an excellent, excellent film. And I was even surprised because it reminded me so much of Ifa and Destiny Selection. So it's it's so cosmic. Like Ifa, we have about 3 stages of Destiny Selection. It's not like about this happens and this happens. It's kind of like it's all happening all at once, right? And these selection is first we choose or we go to this place called Ajalamopin, which is essentially an Orun. We go to this Irumole, who's a primordial being that existed at the same time as time and space. And he has a crib stacked with shelves of Ori, stacked with shelves of heads, right? So you're going to pick a head from a shelf, any kind of head, any head that you want. And it's good for you to talk to Ajalamopin because he knows the best head for you to choose. But if you don't want to talk to him and you want to choose it for yourself, you can. But so you decide one day, you know what, I want to go down to earth. So you go to a Jalamopin's place, you pick your head, and then you decide, you know what, I want to add some things into it. So you're adding your characteristic traits, the qualities about yourself, things that you like, your interests. And then you're passing it off to the primordial beings. And the primordial beings said, nice selection. You know what? Let's add this. Let's add some spices into this destiny of yours. Let's add some quality trace of yourself that is unlike anybody else. So it passes through the primordial being, Irumoles, and then it gets to the creator. And then the creator is the one that puts their ashe onto it, puts the things that are kind of unfixable, like your family, the ancestral lineage you're born into, things like even your race and even your sex. The creator is also choosing at the same time at there. So when we actually arrive onto earth, we have this inkling, this pull, which is our Ori. Our Ori is our intuition. It's our higher self. It's the pull, the seat of our destiny. We don't really know what we selected. We don't really remember, but we have this pull. And it's the pull that will allow us to execute our destiny. And it's a misinterpretation, which is what Disney Soul does amazing, that our destiny is something that is a fixed destination. Destiny is more of a journey. Destiny is actually more of an essence within Ifa. It's like no one is coming down on earth saying that I'm going to be the president of the United States. It's more so that they're coming down on earth that I'm going to be a leader of a people. And how that destiny reflects or is executed is based on choices such as free will, right? And within Ifa and Orisha, Ifa and Orisha's purpose is to make sure that person is able to execute their highest destiny on earth. And their Ori is the one that is the holder of it and is the one that allows them to reach into their highest destiny. So that being said, destiny is more of a fluid experiences. And you also have certain moments in time, certain experiences that are kind of fated to awaken one's destiny. So destiny is an interconnected thing. And I always say that destiny is actually a collective thing, because you following through with your destiny and showing up, being seen, being perceived, is going to awaken somebody else's destiny who witnessed your work and gets inspired by that. Like, oh, like how many times have we seen like a musician or a writer or a film director, and like that creation just motivated me. And we purchased a camera, we took some, dance classes, some singing classes. We decided to write our own book. And it's like even my mother's own destiny of being an archival of ancestral wisdom and telling me as a child is what awoken my own destiny. You see what I'm talking about? Like there's almost a circular interconnection of who we are, which is why it's so important for you to believe in yourself and so important for you to be your most authentic self, so your destiny can find you and you can find your destiny. And you don't also have to go looking for it. You just have to be. But if you're being somebody else, how you gonna find it? I find destiny to be quite simple, and something that is in an embodiment, of just the natural quirks and interests and traits that you have, which is why Disney Soul is amazing.
Yes. How do you feel about, this is just random, there's a topic going around about destiny swapping. I always feel very uneasy when I hear it. It doesn't really resonate with me, but how do you feel about that concept?
So destiny swapping, there is a term in Nigeria, it's a slang, and it's called using someone's star, okay? So the star, you can kind of refer to someone's star as someone's head, someone's Ori. So using someone's star is like I'm using the life force of someone else's energy to open up my own. And, people in Nigeria can do kind of these different kinds of juju and whatnot. So actually use somebody's star and of those of that nature. But it's also just like being mindful of not growing other people's farm, if that makes sense. Like if you know you are a powerful person with a particular destiny and particular potential, don't be out here wasting your ashe trying to seek validation from somebody else, because that is how they drain you of your life force energy, for one, and that is how you spend your time growing someone else's farm. Right? Like there has to be a level of spiritual boundaries that you create within yourself when it comes to your ashe. Ashe is powerful. Like what we speak is powerful. That's why they even say that before you pray for anybody, make sure you pray for yourself first. And this is not about being hyper independent, only thinking about oneself, but it's making sure that you're able to execute your destiny, because your destiny is dependent on somebody else's. So if you're out here wanting to say somebody else on a constant basis, the people that depend on you to be you where you are, all of you, loses out on that.
Yes, most definitely. I love how you spoke about feeding your own Ori. And I just love in general how throughout the book, you really focused on that internal relationship with self. And although there's a time and place for spells and potions and, magic external things, you constantly brought every topic back to oneself, even with talking about ancestor veneration and altars. You just reminded us that you yourself are the first altar space. You deserve to be taken care of. You know, when saying prayers, before you do anything, pray over your hands, pray over your head. Your Ori is the highest Orisha that you were literally born with. And even as it related to destiny, you spoke about how, I don't want to misquote you, but you said how like our Ori just grants permission to all of the things related to our destiny. So can you speak a little bit about that and just the importance of our Ori for those, you know, OGs that need freshening up, newbies, and everybody else in between?
Yeah, of course. So, like, you know, how we spoke about destiny being an important, you know, co-created process with the creator. So, Ori is the one that is going to assist us quicker than any other Orisha. Like, there's actually an old dude with an Ifa that I am unfortunately forgetting. But how the story goes is that it first started with Shango. When someone would try to appease Shango, Shango, I need you, I need help. Shango's like, okay, I'm coming. Ooh, they got my favorite Amala here. Ooh, they got some Orogbo here. Ooh, they got Shango was stopping by at these villages because they had his favorite stuff. So the person was like, I need help. Okay, Oshun, please go. Oshun was like, okay, I'm coming. I'm coming. Oh, they got this. Oh, they got that. Oh, they got some. Okay. And then all the Orishas did it. Ogun did it. You know, Yemoja did it. Olokun did it. All of the Orishas stopped. They took their time when it came to helping somebody because they were distracted or they were, you know, gathering offerings from different places. But it was Ori, one's own Ori said, oh, you need me to do this? I got it. Ori said, I'm coming. I'm right. I'm not stopping at anything. I'm coming for you because I only care about you. You know, like you are my focus. You are my energy. You know, Ori is the only Orisha that has its undivided attention to you. And when you know, if your parents, those Oris are also connected to their children, it's a very powerful divinity, very cosmic, very spiritual. And Ori is how we're able to be in alignment with one's destiny, to be able to be on the same path as what we chose in heaven, but also how we're able to open ourselves up to the goodness in this world. You know, whenever we have experienced, you know, issues or troubles, there's this saying within Ifa that Orumala is the one that's able to turn a bad Ori into a good Ori. But it's not necessarily a bad Ori or a good Ori, bad head, good head. It's bad experiences. It's trauma. It's suffering. And Ori has the ability to heal ourselves. Like when we're able to be in alignment with our Ori, it can create almost like a cosmic wavelength to protect us and to fortify us spiritually. So nothing can bless you without the okay of your Ori. And also nothing can, what they say, nothing can curse you without the okay of your Ori. And if your Ori allows something to happen, it's like your Ori may wanted to use that situation in order to grow in a certain way. It's a very kind of cosmic situation going on with oneself. And it's actually the importance of every Ori to become like Orisha. Like the idea of reincarnation is heavy within Ifa. The ability of like even what Orumala would actually, Orumala, who's the overseer of Ifa, he would actually compare the human body to a body of water. And he would say that reincarnation needed to happen because that the spirit body would be able to purify oneself so it won't create stagnancy because, you know, stagnant water attracts dust and cobwebs and all of those things. So reincarnation allows us to be able to get a bit closer to fulfilling collective destiny, you know, fulfilling our overarching spiritual destiny, and also breaking that cycle of reincarnation ultimately and becoming Orisha. That's what the name comes from. Orisha, selected head, right? A head that was so in alignment with oneself, one in alignment with one's, you know, selected purpose, and also someone that considered the community, that was doing right for the community, you know, was able to essentially escape the cycle of reincarnation and elevate themselves. So Ori is a powerful thing. And also Ori is very much connected to calm, peace, tranquility. People who may suffer with like just depressed mood, anxiety, and things like that would benefit from just being closer to their Ori. You can hold on to your head like so every morning, every evening before you go to sleep, and just pray to yourself of everything that you're looking for. Even if you're not going to sleep, even throughout the day, there's something that's really troubling you, letting your head know, and you will see resolution manifest for you. But you must make sure that you're following your own intuition and that you're following with that little soft, quiet voice that Ori is speaking with you with. Because if you don't, that voice will get quieter and quieter and quieter until it's really hard for you to hear it, right? So let's make sure that we are, having that moment of stillness, that quiet, so we're able to listen to ourselves when Ori speaks.
Yes. And in addition to just listening to ourselves, I love how you intertwine that at the altar space when venerating our ancestors, to make sure that we're listening to that small whisper, the messages that come through as we're sitting at the altar space. And I just love how you painted a beautiful picture of our relationship with our ancestors, and, us using our voices, being a bridge to the relationship with our ancestors, and how just inviting them into our lives is what strengthens our relationship with them. So many notes on that, and how like we can even inherit gifts from them without even knowing, and us just allowing ourselves to go along this path. You speak releasing the guilt from others' projections. Those are all things that I personally dealt with along my journey. So it was just really beautiful to read that chapter on ancestral veneration and, see your perspective on it. For everybody listening, as far as, us being us and having our identity, but also being walking versions of all of the ancestors from the beginning of time that live within us. What is your perspective for yourself and in general about just the way that our ancestors work through us?
I feel like our ancestors work through us, but I don't feel like all of them work with us at the same time. And I feel like what I mean by that is there's different chapters of your life that require certain ancestors. There's different moments and different experiences that will unlock new ancestors to speak to you and speak through you. I find ancestors to be like a collective, truly a collective body of light and overseeing body of energy that is trying to protect, elevate, and also extend the lineage. Which is why you may have like your ancestors in the year talking about, I want a baby. Make sure you give me a baby. And it's like, why do you want a baby so bad? That's kind of great. And it's because they want.
Oh yeah, I felt that when you talked about that.
Well, they desire that lineage to extend, and our ancestors are not just on the altar space, they're here, they're within the body. And they actually sit within the portal. The energetic portal to them is our big toe. So, doing certain rituals, whatever, we would appease the big toe in honor of our ancestors. So whenever we're going, wherever we're walking, so is our lineage that extends to the beginning of time and space. So I even find our ancestors coming up in our creativity, our things that we are attracted to, and we don't really know why. Like, why am I really attracted to herbs and growing things? I didn't even know, I didn't really know this. And then my father was like, oh, your grandmother would actually grow herbs and she had a farm. I'm like, what do you mean she had a farm? That's I didn't really know that. And it starts these little puzzle pieces start putting into place, and you actually just see that there's no original thought. You actually had no original thought when it comes to your ancestral lineage. Who you are, especially when you consider yourself to be the black sheep of the family, is actually very much like those ancestors way back in your lineage. Who you are, even if when it comes to your queerness and just aspects of yourself that are maybe a little bit quirky or something that is not, really seen in society. It's like these are the embodiments of characteristics that our ancestors have. So it's a very actually validating, to be honest, to venerate your people and to really see them. You'll be able to find so much aspects of just who you are as a person. So I think, yeah, my ancestors are everything, embodiment of it all.
Absolutely. Like you said, like there's no original thought. I was up on ancestry.com until like 3 a.m. a couple of days ago, and I saw like one of my great cousins or something on their death certificate. They were a dressmaker, and like my whole existence has been about fashion. But then during my Saturn return, I'm like turning into a vegan chef, which every woman in my family is a great cook, and I never actually learned to cook, but I just magically know how to cook. I'm like, what the heck? I was just a fashion girl. Now I'm cooking. You know, it's just funny how it was like, no, actually, come over here.
Yes. It's like these little collectives of energy that we just embody. And it's like, honestly, embodying those characteristics, those traits can open you up to wealth that's actually even tangible. Like, man, if you know your family could sell things, it was a good market woman, businessman, man, if you sold something, it could just be sold out in an instant. That's when we extend from ancestral veneration to ancestral work, you know, totally different separation. And I love that you brought up ancestry. I actually did the ancestry DNA test. I was like, I need to find out more, even knowing I'm from Nigeria. I'm like, I need to know. So I'm 100% Nigerian, by the way. This is just in case you know. But okay. But I also really wanted to find out like my cousins in the diaspora. That's actually really why I wanted to do it in the first place. And I found out something amazing. A lot of people with my DNA are in Brazil, Haiti, and Jamaica. And those are the places in which, like, even my family, when we immigrated, were a lot of our colleagues and our friends and our peers. Like, my sister-in-law, my brother's wife is Haitian. I'm like, oh, this is a interesting ancestral-led connection. Yeah, that's probably what happened. We are probably cousins. And you know, just recognizing just like how I've been attracted to those people who come from those areas as friends growing up, and seeing just like ancestors in the body, it's like really mirroring that in your own waking life.
Yes. And I know we at 45 minutes, so I'm gonna just say one more thing before we answer some Q&A. I'm sure it's about that time, but I love how you said an offering is a sacrifice, and sacrifice is medicine. That really transformed something else in my brain as well, because even, you know, studying ATRs and, you know, seeing people quick to initiate and things like that, it was a little, if I'm honest, like daunting thinking about the sacrifice, or like, oh, what am I gonna have to like, I'll just be honest, but like, what do I have to give up, or what, it seems like a lot, or it seems like whatever. And I just love how you worded that, just sacrifice is medicine, not only for, you know, myself, my lineage, as well as whatever I decide to be a part of. That is just an incredible view of sacrifice, or even just in everyday life and things that we have to do. And even changing that language from like, I have to do this, to I am honored that I get to do this. So it's all perspective shifting and going from like that negative, you know, viewpoint to really looking at the beauty that I'm even alive, that I get to do that. So that sacrifice piece was great. TT loved it as well. Do you have anything you want to share about sacrifice?
Yes. Like, I find sacrifice to be essentially just an exchange of energy. An exchange of energy. In order to get anything in this world, you must give. You must give something of oneself. And that could be your stillness, right? That could be even the words that you tell yourself that you ain't never gonna amount to anything. That could be, you know, not gossiping. That could just even slight changes that we want to make in ourselves can create monumental new beginnings. And I'm very much someone that loves like timeline shifting and energy shifting and things like that, transmutation and stuff. It's like when we become empty, emptiness is how we're able to receive everything in this world. Like in the chapter of the creator, how the creator started with nothing, started with emptiness. It's through that sacrifice of, I'm now letting this go. This is why letting go is so paramount in order to receive blessings. You're able to just have more space for abundance to sit in. It's just essentially just, it's basic physics, you know, you gotta have space for things to come. And I think that simple perspective shift, and even seeing it like visually of clearing space, can be really beneficial in this concept of letting go and, you know, grief as well.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh, well, lastly, with the grief, because you have a chapter on that as well. How has spirit shown up for you when grieving, whether it be things you know, that you thought you might have, that you didn't have, people, places, all kinds of things. How has spirit shown up for you in grief? Sweet.
I would say spirit really showed up in grief by just showing me that I can take my time. I can take my time with it. I'm an Aquarius moon. So, you know, that emotion, I have no water placement. So that emotional, even though I come from water, it's so crazy. Like,
I'm all water.
but you know, Aquarius, whatever. But just I always felt like I have to be okay really quickly, especially after something that was incredibly challenging or difficult or traumatizing. I'm like, a good week of crying, okay, I'm fine, I should be moved on, done. And then the feeling comes up again in a month, and I'm like, this is too much. No, I'm done. I'm over it. I've forgiven. I'm done. I'm over it. I even try to force myself to forgive before I'm ready to forgive, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? So what my spirituality has really showed me is like, man, it's okay to be angry. That's even Shango too. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be angry sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to show them that Kabiesi Shango, you know? And I say that in a way of just being honest about one's emotional state. I found that like the altar space, and really like I always like to lay down at the altar state, or just really lay down all next to my shrines whenever I'm going through things. And I even have my big and relay pot, and that and relay, I don't even know how I even got this from Nigeria. She is huge, huge thing. But every time that I'm going through a heavy period, I just wrap my arms around my relay and I cry. And it feels like someone is actually holding me when I do that. And tangibly, really, my spirituality has saved me during that moment of grief, and also showed me the possibilities of my life. And honestly, even Ifa in particular, I now have a more belief in Ifa before than ever. Like, especially during my transitionary moment in my life when things were just kind of falling apart, I was holding so much onto Ifa, and I was like, please, can somebody help me? Please, this is too much. And seeing how Ifa would actually show up, you know, my ancestors would show up, and things would even move immediately the day of. And it's like, oh, this actually works. I find that suffering and grief can show you your capability of who you are, your potential of yourself, to put yourself back together. It reminds me of the proverb that my good friend, who's also an Abatala priest, told me. He said, a basket of suffering creates a life filled with ease. And I was so annoyed hearing that when he told me that. I'm like, what are you going to tell me? My suffering, you going to give me ease? I don't like none of that. But now I understand.
Yes.
And that's why I feel like I can just relax and breathe and let go, because I have suffered. So I can enjoy when things are a little bit easy. That stillness part don't bother me, because all I knew was chaos, you know? I'm okay being here. And that's like, when you have suffered, you're able to really cherish sweetness when it arrives. So I'm not as resentful to suffering and to grief as I once was. I'm open to it, and I see it as a space of showing me just how good life can get for me.
That's beautiful. I feel that. That was one of my revelations a couple of weeks ago. So I'll be 30 in 6 months. And I was like getting ready, and something hit me. I was like, you know, these women that I admire in their 30s and beyond, something just clicked. I said, trials and tribulations. That's how they got there. I was like, oh, it's a prerequisite.
It really it do be like that sometimes, you know.
It's like that. You have to go through things and get through them, but experience them nonetheless, like you said, to be able to appreciate the other side. And that as uncomfortable as it made me feel, it also brought me comfort because I was like, oh, people have gone before me. People are going around me. And it's like, if they could do it, I could do it. I don't have a choice. I got to do it. But it just brought me comfort. Like, child, look at them, you know? So, yeah.
You got this.
Absolutely embracing, not even glamorizing suffering, but recognizing that it has its rightful place along the journey for sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm gonna stop there with my yapping. I appreciate, you know, the dialogue and
It was
the
so nice talking to you.
Thank you, you as well. TT, where you at?
I'm over here shaking my head like proud auntie. I'm like, what? I went through my damn phone. Like, what? I was so good. People texted me like crying. People are in tears over this conversation. Xania, your ass is gonna be on the stage way more often. And Ehime, like, how do you like 99? I'm like, Millennial. Like, what are you talking about? Zillennial,
Yeah,
Millennial?
millennial. Yeah, I'm 25. Yeah.
Wow.
25?
Yeah. I turn 26 in a few months.
What?
Yeah.
I have a 24-year-old son. What are you talking about?
Oh, really? That's
I
like,
mean, my bonus son, he ain't come out my womb, but still, the motherfucker about to be 25.
that's crazy.
That is crazy. I'm like, where does this Lord? Well, you done already told us where does wisdom come from.
Yes.
Clearly, my mouth was agape. I'm like listening. This is why, as much of an ageist as I am, y'all, this is why, like Mama Coco, I'm gonna stay with the young bucks because my God, that was so good. And everybody's like, is it recorded? Of course it's fucking recorded. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, and yeah, you earlier in my DMs, you were like, I wish I could get a sneak peek of the convo you got. I'm like, I could never see you.
I didn't even know that Chantrell like messaged me. I'm like, yes, of course, I would like to be here.
Look at God. I don't even.
The millennials.
I mean, listen, I'm my mouth is agape. I mean, y'all got 50-something-year-olds and 60-some-year-olds texting me talking about they crying and how good this is. So I am grateful. I'm thankful. I don't even need to add anything. I'm gonna give y'all the chance for questions.
Yeah, here's one from the chat. Mel wanted to know, along your spiritual journey and your initiation, did it influence your family to re-embrace Ifa, or were they against you going back to the tradition?
So my older brother is initiated into Ifa. My other brother has his hand of Ifa. My mother goes to the shrine. So there is my mother. She's still, she's a very Nigerian woman still. Church is more of a space of community for her. It's, a space to connect with other Nigerians. But she is okay with who I am, and I'm okay with who she is. She's still someone that loves her Jesus, but she can still speak about African spirituality in a way that no one else can. And I think, I don't know, through her, I'm able to see just how so much can coexist within the body,
Yes. Speaking of her finding her community in the church, someone asked, what can you speak to?
That's very y'all crazy. I'm sorry.
What happened?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
crazy.
You said you're weird. I'm like, you into neuro spicy because I got a neuro spicy 24-year-old.
That's my mother. My mother's like, I got somebody for you. Y'all gotta relax, please.
Oh goodness, they're trying to marry you off.
Honestly, at my Elay and just where I'm like studying to help and being of service in my community, there's like a 12-year-old priest who knows so much more than me, who does my divination. He is so good, and he's 12. He could shed the Odu like the back of his hand, and he's 12, So I feel like I even started a bit late, to be honest, learning. And I think there's so much knowingness of just like, when I look to this 12-year-old, that the, age is really just a number at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting you said that because today, right before we got on, my godmother's granddaughter, who is the 4th generation in their family to have Ocha, She just celebrated her 18th Ocha birthday today.
Oh,
And she's a priest of Yemanja, talking about water, and she initiated when she was 5. And
cool.
so, you know, she's my niece, but you know, she's like, I just feel really grown. Like, she was like in Ocean. I remember when she was like, she was 13 when I initiated, and she spent a lot of time with me on the throne. And I remember when she was around 16, she was like, just going through her rebellious stage, like, what if I don't even want to do this no more? Grandma will be pissed. And what if I want to read the Quran or go to church? And I'm like, girl, just relax, okay? I'm like, relax. And then, you know, to see her settle into herself and outside of her mom, who also initiated as an Oshun priest when she was 8. So she now has like 40, you know, something years of Ocha, as a 40-something-year-old. And so to just see her grow into her own, like, you know, again, this idea of young people being elders, is something else that I love about our tradition. Sometimes it's hard for people to accept, you know, because they think elders have to be a certain age and whatnot, or, you know, that you can't humble yourself before the youth. But I love the intergenerational, you know, aspect of our traditions, and how, you know, we also have to honor the youth, you know. And so thank you for saying that.
I think it's also just an honor to be able to assist and to give service to those who are older than me. I think I've learned so much about just life and just, you know, being cool, being calm, and how much I don't have that much wisdom that extends, you know, and there is so much things that come with age, you know, that I'm so excited to learn as well. And I'm just grateful, like, especially helping people who are like intergenerational family, like a mother and her mother. And it's just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm just so happy. So happy.
Yes. We have a question. Can you speak to the importance of community just in general at this time in our lives, considering the state of the world, as well as just community in your life as well?
This is a good question. So I think community is like now becoming almost like a buzzword in a way for people to use. And what I mean by this is like people think that community needs to be big and huge when it's actually starting local, starting at home and expanding outwards, starting with your loved ones, gathering them up, starting with people in your neighborhood, gathering them up, starting people within the city, and then refracting outwards. I even said that the people, like your 2 friends, your 2, 3 friends, even if you don't have that much people, that is also a community. It's about people who are intentionally, you know, committed to your life, your wellness, your well-being, and that's in a reciprocal balance. And I think community, that's the basics of this practice in African spirituality. I think it's what even brought me to tears when I was initiating back in Nigeria was these priests and priestesses that I've not even met yet praying for me with like the whole chest. It's like you don't even know who I am, but you're still praying for me that I come into an alignment with my destiny. And that's how, like, you know, I want to emulate as a priestess. Like, I want to also be able to have that kind of, you know, care and compassion, even if I don't really know you, right? About being of service to one's community. So I find this something as a very tangible thing that has really just nourished me personally.
That would reminds me of, it was one of the terms that you introduced was a reciprocal descendant, I believe. Was that it? I think you said reciprocal descendant. And there was just so many terms like that. Just the idea of not just taking, you know, again from the ancestors, just the reciprocity. I mean, like even in your conversation around sacrifice, and when you said Iwa Pele is like the biggest sacrifice, I could have threw the book across the room. Because one of the things that I've noticed a lot over the past couple of years, particularly as the resurgence in our tradition grows, like particularly with the popularity of the tradition on like TikTok and social media, is like people are trying to get fans and followers, and I'm like, where's the Iwa Pele though? You know, where is the character? And even godchildren, people like trying to acquire lots of god kids, but I'm like, where is the good character in your life? Where is the, and you spoke about this, like you talked about accountability, and I don't know if you said this particular word, but it, everything you were saying was describing it was like self-awareness even, right? How like my actions are impacting somebody else. How am I showing up? Like, am I causing harm? You know, or even unintentionally so, right? And so like saying like, because I always tell people, if you're in this tradition, like what is the point of spending thousands of dollars to make it ultra, initiating, traveling back and forth to Nigeria, wherever, getting all these pots, and you're going to choose, you know, like in the conversation that you had about like Eshu, in choice, like you're going to choose to do the same things and be the same person. Like, why would you do that? I have a former best friend who, you know, who has OCHA, and I'm just like in the decisions that they would make, and I'm just like in the suffering that they would go through, and I would understand like why you have the Ache, and you're going to continue to make the same choices in your life, and then and suffer unnecessarily. Talk about reciprocity. You talk about community. Even I think one of the most important aspects of the community is that accountability piece, right? Like the checks and balances, right? Is this idea, particularly when you're working in a group, a community where there are elders, it's not just like a bunch of priests who are like peers who are just talking and operating amongst themselves, but you have other people coming in. That's like, no, you shouldn't do things like that. You need to do things like this. No, that's not the appropriate way to do things. That they can mediate, and then just create balance. So I'm just very, very appreciative of that conversation, that aspect of the book about accountability, about Iwa Pele, because it, like that concept of good character does not get talked about enough, right? And it doesn't get embraced enough. I think when people allow their egos to get caught up into being like, oh, I'm this big bad Iya, I'm this big bad Baba or whatever. And but I'm like, but what's but when you peel all that back, what's going on in your life, sis? A hot mess. I'm not gonna bring up any real life examples. I'm gonna keep that tea off. TT gonna keep that tea off of the YouTubes, but y'all know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely, because you talk about it all the time and the importance of good character. In this space, how important it is. I will hope the people are listening. Camilla wanted to ask, you talked about accessibility, especially when giving offerings. Can you speak to some that may not have the resources, but they do have the heart to practice and worship and may not have the means at the moment?
Right. So like when we're talking about like Ifa and Orisha, I'm more so like talking about like ancestral veneration, you know, practicing with your people. And I think our ancestors, especially when I think about my time at Howard in the college dorm, and I didn't have enough, and I was just a college student trying to practice African spirituality. Oh, I remember those days, absolutely. And it was when I could only offer what I had. Like maybe it wasn't the best 5-star jollof rice and egusi that they ever seen in their life, but it was enough, right? And our ancestors really see our heart when it comes to that. Like at least you are trying. At least you're trying to make that connection, and at least you're trying to be obedient, you know. And I think they create moments for you to give them more, to give them actually what they really want. Like that's actually what happens when you are venerating your ancestors and you start from scratch. It grows and it expands and it becomes like a journey. And you look back and you remember just where you began. So just like what I recommend with everyone, just start now with what you have, and everything else kind of comes into place.
Yes, that's a beautiful just green light for people who feel like they're in that space. I know when I read that, because I haven't really given many food offerings, because child, the Instagram and TikTok people said that my ancestors don't want no vegan food. I'm vegan. So I said, well, child,
This is what they gonna eat. Like that's the thing.
I
And
ain't
when he's
cooking
like,
no
don't
hog
salt your
dogs.
food, and I'm like, don't salt my food. Like,
So look, when you said you could give fruit, I said, okay, that's my
okay.
seed.
I was given many of fruits, many of fruits.
Look, I give some liquor, you know, whatever, but I just feel like I don't want to have no bad juju for putting no heart of palm and mushrooms on the altar, baby. I don't want no smoke.
It's totally okay. I find that people just to be really, I don't know where this old like whole, I mean, ancestors can get offended, but that's like when you do something really that warrants that offense. Giving them some salad ain't gonna
Yeah.
you
I know
know?
mine are always jokingly offended when I ask for their help when I'm cooking like traditional dishes. So like I'm Gullah Geechee, so I was making red rice for the first time, and I heard my grandma say, you know, don't blame me if it's nasty. I'm like, girl, I'm trying to be healthy. I'm vegan. I ain't never made this before, but yeah, it was funny. But I was like, okay, cool. Any other questions, y'all? TT, you over there looking in your book? You got
I
something?
know because I want to read this prayer, even about the idea, just to my soror's question, because um and I feel like you said this, Ahime, and I don't think I made this up. I'm also reading this book about I just ordered for the shop prosperity meditations, everyday practices to create an abundant life. And so, and I don't remember if it was from out of this book or yours, but I want to read this prayer about or read because it also talks about, to me, like, you know, our ancestors providing. Or read, as I begin this journey to get closer to you, break me away from uncertainty. Allow me to believe these prayers are reaching you. Provide me with unshakable faith on this journey to reconnection. Allow me to remain open to your wisdom. Carve out the best path for me to walk on. May hope remain at my side today, even if bitterness arrives. Let my perspective remain strong in faith. Let my day grow to be sweet with the surprising blessings of wealth, relationships, and opportunities. May good luck and fortune never run dry for me. Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. And then you also say, may everything I touch turn to pure gold and silver. May everything I create prosper beyond my expectations. May my hands be used to cultivate the goodness that is my birthright. May my hands remain open to receiving the Creator's favor. Do not allow wickedness to be born out of my hands. May my hands lead me only toward opportunities that create positive action for myself and my community. May everything I receive be doubled in ways where I can properly invest in those around me, leading us all toward collective upliftment. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Oh. And the reason why I wanted to read that, because I think a part of dismantling Oyimbo inferiority is this notion of like being committed to poverty, right? And like that doctrine and dogma of, you know, wealthy people being evil and wealth being wicked. And so, you know, and that the meek shall inherit the earth, and we got to wait until we dead and in heaven to get our rewards and our riches. And so, you know, I'm always embracing of other priests and spiritual people that speak to wealth and prosperity consciousness. Right? And there's so many other ways that we can be wealthy and we can prosper, that don't always mean like how much money our bank account reflects, right? And so this idea of giving what you got, right? A little bit of something of what you have. Even when you spoke about if you don't eat 3 times a day, or even when you talked about your altar, like you had said, for people who are housing insecure, and creating an altar in a suitcase, and you know, as long as you're expressing safety, I'm just very appreciative of that. And and to, you know, my soror's question, like us always asking for more, because I think sometimes we're afraid to ask for more and ask for what we want, because even though how we grew up or what we've been told, like, and how we see people that have like wealth and prosperity, like sometimes we don't even ask for things from our ancestors, right? And so I just love those two prayers, and so I just wanted to thank you for them and wanted to read them out.
Thank you so much. I think it's like, within Ifa, there's such a tangibility within our practice. It's like, in comparison to like Eastern philosophy or even like Southern Eastern philosophy about like the detachment of the material world and things like that. Within Ifa and Orisha, it's like you being in alignment with your destiny and seeing the blessings of wealth, the blessings of relationships, the blessings of victory is how you know you are in alignment with one's destiny. It's like our Ifa is so aware and cognizant that you need certain, tools in your toolkit when you are embarking on Earth to make it a pleasurable experience, so you can actually enjoy being alive, like Earth being the marketplace of life, enjoying the marketplace. Like you ain't gonna go to the market and not buy nothing, right? So it's like being able to enjoy this fantastic trade of buying and selling, which I think is like my favorite part of Ifa and even just Ori in general and just Ori consciousness is what's, like even the concept of just like what you were talking about, how wealth being like wicked, what people think it's wealth and dirtiness, but wealth is the child of water, Risha J is the child of Olokun, the Risha of the ocean. Wealth actually wants to be pure. It actually lasts when it's pure. Have you ever seen dirty water and how murky it is? You ain't gonna want to drink it. Like, yeah, it's still water. Sure, it could hydrate you somewhat, but it's gonna make you sick afterwards. So dirty water, dirty wealth has that same impurity. When it's clean and clear, that's when water, wealth can actually stay in our lives, which is why, Risha J doesn't like to be in like places where it's like dark or unkempt and disorganized.
Mm.
Are you about to say something, TT?
No, I was just looking at Rob's question, but you're doing such a great job. I mean, I was able to eat dinner and everything. I'm like, girl, you got it, boo. You got it.
Thank you. Definitely want to get to Rob's question, but I wanted to ask, so you spoke about dogma and giving yourself permission to release projection. So right now, as we have in this conversation, and I'm hearing, ancestors, ancestors, ancestors. So within the Ifa tradition, Lukumi, as well as other ATRs, my thought is, how and when do you pray or acknowledge Aladumare? Or like I have a saying, like, I honor God by honoring myself. Is that kind of the concept? Because I really don't hear a lot, in passing or just in, different things when speaking about the traditions, people actually acknowledge the source. Is that a thing? Because, within religion, it's like, always acknowledge the source, can't do nothing without God, and da-da-da-da. So that just kind of came up as I was listening.
Oh, I think like the beginning of chapter 2, the creator's love fills the head with the poetry of like my idea of speaking to the creator. I think that I have such a desire to be as connected to the creator as possible. Maybe it's because of my mother and how she would always just speak to God, and I would just always just love just to feel that passion in her heart. But how I would give thanks and gratitude to the creator immediately after waking up, how I would talk to the creator. And it was different than how I would talk to God when, I was trying to assimilate into Christianity. There was a disconnect with that God. But with this acknowledgement of speaking to the creator, to Olodumare, to Ogene, what my ancestors speak to, there's something that clicked within me, that connection, that excitement that I felt, the same similar excitement that I felt when I would venerate my ancestors. I feel that when I reach for the creator. I feel that when I call upon the creator. I even ask for the creator to be in my life in that way. So I see my ancestors communicating with the creator, which is communicating with me, which is communicating with Risha, which is all going around in a circle. I don't think I am complete without the creator in my life and that reverence to the creator. And even within Ifa and Risha, we believe that the creator is just so big that we have the Risha to act as the creator's hands, to reach us. Which is why if the creator could come down on earth and to hug each and every one of us, the creator probably would, but can't, which is why they send the rain, they send the breeze, they have the trees, the rivers, the streams, things of that nature. I find everything to be an iteration of the creator's love. And I think I like, even just like my own journeys when it comes to love and of itself, it's like it leads me closer to the creator in that way, because I'm trying to find the creator's love through other people and through human beings and things of that nature. And it kind of just goes back to that. And there's a really good odu within Ifa called Agunda Ogbe, Agunda Bede. And this is kind of like the Odu, I make a joke, the Odu of the drug dealer, because it talks about so much money that people think that you're scamming, that you're doing something illegal. But the Odu kind of speaks about this particular verse. It says that there's nothing that the creator can't do. And if there's nothing that the creator can't do, there's nothing that I can't do. So I think if the creator is as limitless and as abundant as possible, so am I, as below as above, or vice versa. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. I love that. That makes sense. Yeah, because that dogmatic viewpoint is like, God, like you said, the creator is so big, we don't have to, give him or them direct praise in order to connect. It's literally within everything we do and every breath. So that just, definitely gave me reassurance on that. And just even speaking about just anxiety and making up stuff in our heads, Rob wanted to know, is it odd to have doubts when connecting to your Ori or ancestors? Sometimes they wonder, is it my anxiety or is it my Ori? Like, am I just making stuff up or being too influenced by things that I read?
I think it is definitely like indoctrination. The indoctrination when it comes to spirituality is so heavy. A lot of us don't realize how indoctrination, even if we're not someone that is, partakes in the church or in the temples, how it affects our lives, especially when it connects to, our Ori, our ancestors, things that we can't tangibly hold or feel, but that we know. A part of ourselves can wonder, are we going to be safe? That's actually kind of like the biggest thing, is safety. If I connect with my Ori, is everything going to be okay with me? What's going to happen? If I connect with my ancestors and I just lay these food on the altar space, what's going to happen? Is my house going to burn down? Someone going to come and get me? It's like, there's, even if we don't say it out loud, there's a part of fear that we have. So it has to come back to understanding that our ancestors adore us. When it talks about our collective ancestors, those who are of high vibration and of high elevation, even Ifa, even to become a collective part of the ancestors, you had to be of someone who was living in a high, character lifestyle. So in of that, we know that our ancestors would never send, show, or do anything that would intentionally harm us. So it's actually about first developing a sense of trust, right? A trust in the ancestors and also in the trust in the self. If it's like, I don't really know, that's also a sign that you need to seek out more information. Maybe talk to somebody, talk to people that you can trust who have more information than you to understand more. It's like, maybe you need to know why you're venerating your ancestors in the first place, or why do I need to pray to my Ori that way? I think it's okay to engage with the anxiety with curiosity. Like, why are you actually, what is it about this that is bothering you? And then you can actually kind of find the solution to that.
Yeah, curiosity instead of shame, which I feel like is the root of that back and forth. When you're experiencing that, you're shaming yourself because someone else shamed you, and then it's just a cycle, and you begin to doubt yourself. But that goes back to, like you said, self-trust, listening to your intuition, and even just having that viewpoint of life and relationship with your ancestors to be able to be in that state of mind. Any other questions? I don't know how long we can.
Listen, we could do this all night. AMA, so We be on for 3 hours. We're not gonna do you like that. Like, because you're gonna be like, you know what?
Right.
Yeah, be on the plantation. I came to give a good word and be cutesy and demure and then be out, and then they had my ass on a marathon like it was Clubhouse.
Not Clubhouse. Oh, folks were on Clubhouse all day.
The aunties was on Clubhouse, and we'll be falling asleep on Clubhouse too. Okay.
In the shower on Clubhouse, had the phone. It's happening.
We were doing it all.
That's true. We do want to be respectful of your time. We are honored. I think I speak for everyone. Honored to have you here. Something I thought of earlier is just being in both of y'all's presence. I'm sure it reminds me of like being in the presence of like Zora Neale Hurston, Toni Morrison, Maya Angelou. And I just can't wait until, you know, in the future when I can say that I was, you know, gleaning wisdom from you both. So yeah, thank you.
To be in the names of those, wish I tried.
I know, sorry for that, you know, but
I don't know how much I love you. I love you so much.
Girl, listen, it's same. That's what I'm saying. I was just like, because again, you know, at Gen X, I be thinking, y'all young people can't tell y'all nothing. And it just be like, and I'm just like, you're so sweet. And you went to Howard. I'm never going to let you go. My God.
Please adopt me. I'm here. I'm here.
Like, I'm like, oh my, I cannot believe you're only the guy. I don't even, I feel like you're like, this one is not telling the truth, though. Hey, this one is not telling the truth, though. There's no way. Like, there's no way now. This one says she is 20. Where? How? No way. No, I'm like, so I, first of all, thank you for, because I mean that Taurus, you know, y'all move very, you know, how y'all move. So the fact that you said yes, quick, fast, in a hurry, like, this was so good. And for everybody that asked if it was recorded, what the hell you think? Y'all think that I would not record this? Oh my God, and Xania, you did so good. You up there like, I'm so nervous, and you had the PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
The cliff notes.
Amazing.
It was given like Oprah. It was
given like a serious talk show host. That was
like seriously.
Oh my the beginning. God. Where are you going? Like, you're my comfort, my
Thank you. See, because I'm psychic, I knew you were going to have me up here. So when you tagged me in a post, I'm like, what the heck? I didn't know, like, for real. Like, I knew, but I didn't know. So I was like, let me get my ducks in a row, which I didn't even have time to get my ducks in a row. So that's why I was nervous. I didn't have anything prepared.
Listen, it was so good. It was so juicy. It was so juicy. And just in case y'all didn't know, Ehime, tell people how they can connect with you across the board and how they can support you.
Yes, Ehime Ora everywhere. My website, my Patreon is also where I do more of like the spiritual teachings, but it's more like ancestral reminders, Ifa philosophy, spiritual deep dives. Right now we're doing a deep dive regarding West African astrology. I've been doing some research regarding putting some things together regarding the Kingdom of Benin's astrology framework, which has been really amazing. Folks have been really enjoying that. And also talking about water spirits as well. So if that interests you, you guys can, do that as well. But also, please, if you guys enjoyed the book, leave a review if you can, an honest one on Goodreads, Amazon. I'm still a newly published author, and that's something that my publisher is looking at. I hope to write more books for you guys. So just spread the word around if you can. I really appreciate it.
Yes. And don't forget, for those with a wealth mindset who can make Buku Hoodoo Fest as well as Brazil, you also have a trip coming up. Tell people about the trip.
So Xania just basically let the cat out of the bag. Ehime is coming, accepting my invitation, will be with us.
No, wait, I didn't let nothing out the bag, TT. Hold on. I didn't let nothing out the bag. I'm talking about her trip. She has a trip in the summer.
Oh, wait. You going to Brazil?
No, there's a trip to Costa Rica.
Oh yes, yes. I was like, I thought you were talking about. No, yes, we have our retreat in Costa Rica. Y'all want to come with me to Costa
Wait,
Rica?
what's the dates? I'm
Okay,
like,
September 26th.
oh baby, that's not interfering with nothing. I'm about to come back to Costa Rica because my first trip was hell.
Please come.
Oh yeah, that ain't
You
nothing.
there.
Do Costa Rica over. So you can see Ehime multiple ways. You can go to Costa Rica in the summertime. Go ahead and look at those dates and coordinate that. And in New Orleans, TT just let the cat out of the bag. Ehime will be at Bukahudu Fest. So that just happened.
I'm so excited to see you guys.
Yes, we're gonna have such a good time. It is going to be a time, okay?
Got it, Loki. Two shot local, same place. Crazy.
You're not even gonna be able to handle it. So if y'all haven't gotten your tickets yet for the festival, come through. If you volunteer and come through, just come through. We about the second line. We about the second line for Dana. We about to do it real big. It's about to be the best festival. Dr. Martha Moreno Vega is going to be this year's keynote. Baba John Mason is going to be there.
Ooh, that's stacked. What's going on? I love to see it.
Yes. Baba John is going to be there with his Obatala self. So it's going to be a good time, y'all. It's going to be a great time. I don't, again, I can do this all night. The Gemini, we could be on this joint till 11 o'clock. So we're not going to do you like that. I just thank you. This was so good.
Thank you.
It was so good. Thank both of y'all. This was so good. It's like, I just love, like, nothing fills my heart more than seeing people fully expressing the fullest expression of themselves and the highest vision and version of themselves. And so, I pray that both of you continue to do that. I pray that for myself. I pray that for anyone in the audience. As you are inspired, I think the best way that you can show your appreciation for someone and like their service is to take what they share and then to manifest that in your own life. And so I hope for everyone that was touched by Ehime's words today and every day, whether you read the book, you listen to the Audible, is that you embrace audaciousness in your life. You embrace courage in your life. You embrace balance in your life. You embrace Iwa Pele in good character in your life. You ask yourself, how and where and when can I serve? And how am I not showing up as my best self? And if I'm afraid, can I be afraid and still do a thing anyway when you have doubt? And so I just want to thank everybody. That's it. Just thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. I love this community. And Ehime, I'm not letting you go. You're just locked in now for life.
I love you so much.
I love you more. Life for real. When I see you, I'm gonna probably see you before we get to New Orleans. But when I do, you're gonna get the biggest hug. And then the sky is gonna open up. And then
for real.
They're really not going to know what to do with themselves. They're really not going to know what to do themselves. And I'm going to take us out with a little D'Angelo. And I know YouTube is going to probably cut it off because, they don't like when you start sharing music and stuff. But yeah, Africa. So I'm like, was you born when this album first came out? Xavier, how old are you?
29.
Okay, so you were like 4. You were like 4. Oh my God. Shout out.
I don't know. How does it feel?
He was like, I don't even know the rest of the album. One of the best albums of all time.
You had to be there for this one.
Africa is my descent. Here I'm far from home.
Woo!
I dwell within the land that's meant for many men. I my tone. Blood of God is my defense. Let it drop down to my seat. Showers to your innocence to protect you for all eternity. And when this world be destroyed, we won't see defeat. Kings to queens becomes a prince. Knowledge and wisdom is understanding what we need. And this day will come ever since the day came. My whole world began to change. I knew that the day came my life for your own. Every day I see you grow. I remember what you already know. I receive the love of me from the blood.
Hi guys. Hi.
I'm not even going to bring up stories about
you from which you came was love, and that's how it all.
This is the album with him with the cornrows and the leather jacket.
No,
You and my
this is the album with him with the Malekes on.
all the time.
I'm gonna do my research.
Oh my God. They're wrong for that. Oh my God. Hey, Vanny, you need to go listen to this album now.
Huh?
You need to go and listen to this album. Wow.
Love you, Brooklyn. Thank you.
Oh
Wow.
I've never
This
heard
was so good. I know we're off. I almost feel like we need to have an after party. Oh my God.
I'm down for that. But yeah, I've never heard that. I know How Does It Feel, Brown Sugar.
There's two different albums. It's okay. You just need to go and listen to it. Oh my God.
I promise. Okay, the album is Voodoo. Okay.
Yes, it is Voodoo. Okay.
I have ever since I've been collecting vinyls, I've been learning a lot about music. Really, a year ago, my music really would have been disappointing because I didn't know all the stuff. But now I'm learning.
That's good. You know, it's like going to Auntie record collection.
Yeah.
Do y'all want to hop on Geneva? I'm gonna be eating some dessert. Y'all want to hop on Geneva because I feel like we need to have the after party.
Yes.
Okay. For whoever want to be down for the after party, you don't have to just meet us on the porch if you got some energy. Because I mean, I got to stay up for a little while anyway. Baby girl, I'm so proud of you. That was so good, so good, so good. I'm like, if we could have every meeting like this, and I could just sit back and I could just.
Shout at me, I gotta read all the books. This was my first time reading a book for real.
Oh,
and I've been in the book club for a year and a half, 2 years.
but but you was right on time. I was right on time. Stephanie, what name did you use? Because see, y'all be trying to use different names than what y'all signed up for, and then be getting mad when y'all get dejected. Because
Yeah.
I be like, is this the ops? Is this the ops? Anyway, so Stephanie, go ahead on and resubmit your request. Oh, I see you. Step P, because I just be like, oh, well, who is this? All right, let's hop on Geneva. Everybody want to see a leprechaun? Let me hear you say yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm hanging up. I'm gonna see y'all on Geneva. Bye.